My name is Naya Crom, and I am a huge Elton John fan. I am also the producer of the documentary that you are about to see. I've been learning about Elton's life and the stories behind his music for several years. I attended his farewell tour in 2022, and being around other Elton John fans really made the concert even better. I went to the movie premiere of his documentary, Never Too Late, in London, England, as well. Learning about Elton John and listening to his music has been a constant in my life since I was in high school. I was lucky enough to meet a person who shares that passion and probably knows as much, or more, about Elton as I do. He is an Elton John Tribute Artist with a show named Crocodile, Rockstar. I always told myself that one day I was going to do something that would show people my love of Elton John. Today is that day. Welcome to Becoming Elton, starring my new friend, Beazley Phillips.
I have loved Elton John since I was a kid. You know, I used to just love Crocodile Rock. I thought that was the coolest song in the whole world. My best friend that I sang with, whose name Melissa Allison, she loved Elton John, and she would just, every time we were in the car, she would put on Elton John, and I remember she loved Candle in the Wind. She loved the version that was on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and I don't know that that was even released. It was not a hit, I know that. But man, she loved that song. It really meant a lot to her. And then, you know, it wasn't a big hit until like the 80s when he did the Australian tour and sang it with the, I think it was the Australian Symphony. I just grew up with him, and I never wanted to be Elton necessarily. This is a funny thing. So I've played music most of my life, and yeah, I taught myself to play by ear, and then, long story short, I learned to read music. I dropped out of college so that I could study music outside of school. I learned to read, and then I auditioned for the music department of my university, which was Appalachian State. I was accepted, initially not as a piano performance major, as a secondary student, because I just learned to read music 6 months before. I played with in a lot of blues bands and rock bands. I had my own band for 10 years, the Beazley Phillips Band, and people always have said to me, you know, you sound a lot like Elton John. And I appreciated that, but I never thought I would be doing an Elton John tribute. Funny enough, in 2013, I think it was, I tore the tendon in my elbow, the lateral epicondyle, which feeds the fingers, and I couldn't play for about a year and a half, I think it was. I had to make a lot of changes in my life, and I couldn't play piano. The vice president of my company came down to my office and said, you know, you sound a lot like Elton John. We're closing the whole building for Halloween. Do you think you could at least play one or two Elton songs? And I think I probably knew one or two. I didn't know that many. And I said, sure, I could probably play 2, maybe 3. I went home and I talked to my spouse, and I said, you know, I'm going to play a couple songs for the office. And the first thing that I heard was, well, what costume are you going to wear? And I said, costume? I was going to take my tie off, come out of the accounting office. And anyway, so I was like, okay, I made my first costume.
Out at Black Circle Creative View today. Going to be doing some costume work. Brought some of my costumes out.
I found that I could sew and make, and craft with my arm, and it didn't hurt it. I taught myself how to, make costumes, and I started making costumes. That Halloween show was a big hit, and they asked me to do it again the next year, and people started asking me to do it, and it just kind of steamrolled, and here we are, Crocodile Rockstar, and I'm just really grateful to be playing music and doing it full time, and I just love it.
I'm going back to the border where my fans ain't appeal.
I tend to love Well, there's the 5 golden years, which is his first 5 years from his second album through probably Captain Fantastic and the Brown Deer Cowboy. And that material on record is my favorite.
Philadelphia freedom, shine on me. I love you, shine a light through the eyes of the morning behind. Shine the light, shine the light, shine the light, just shine the light. Philadelphia freedom, I love you, yes I do.
But the great thing is, when Elton sits at the piano and plays and sings, it doesn't matter what era the music comes from, and I guess that's what makes a brilliant artist. When he plays, you just realize how great all the songs are. So while I may not love the production on, say, Too Low for Zero as much, I love playing those songs, and a lot of songs like I Guess That's Why They Call It the Blues or I'm Still Standing, those songs as songs, they just hold up, and they just have a whole new meaning when you play them on the piano. So I play songs from all of Elton's catalog, all the way up through, his musicals and his current albums. So this one, Elton John and the camp call it the Big Chicken. It is a mishmash of all kinds of things. There's like a gorilla chest plate, there's like football pads, there's feathers, there's the samba collar. And then this other one over here, this is also one I made. It's like a bolero jacket. So Terry O'Neill did a photo shoot for the Elton John Greatest Hits 2. This is a variation of those costumes. He wore this off and on from 1973 forwards. It's super iconic and everybody recognizes it, and it's one of my favorites also to wear. I find myself to be just incredibly busy working on music, new music. I mean, I memorize all my songs, and I probably have like 65 in my repertoire, I think, right about now. And then in addition to that, there's the business side of running Crocodile Rockstar. So, there's booking and media, websites. I do new client meetings pretty regularly. Every time a new client sends me a request, that's the first thing I do is ask for the call, a Zoom call, just because I like to meet them in person and kind of do a little face-to-face. So Elton pays designers a lot of money to design his costumes, and then when it comes to the shows, I think he must just go to the closet and pull whatever he's kind of feeling that day. And so a lot of times, like this one that I said was the Big Chicken, the headpiece was something that went with an earlier costume that Mackie designed, just the headpiece, which is it's almost like a swim cap with disco mirror tiles on it. And it wasn't designed for that costume, and I suspect Elton at one point just said, hey, I'm gonna wear this with the Big Chicken, and it kind of became iconic. Elton doesn't seem to have the same look on a consistent basis twice. In '72, I started seeing his costumes become more elaborate. I know by '73, especially by his Australian tour, I believe he had 6 designers designing costumes for him. Prior to that, he often picked up a lot of the pieces that he wore in his shows. And like the glasses, I believe, were made by Mr. Freedom in Los Angeles. Some of the boots were couture. And then he would pick up things that he found either on the rack or that were made individually, but I don't believe they were necessarily designed as an entire costume, at least not consistently. And then by '73, I see him wearing very thematic stage costumes that clearly, folks spent a lot of time working on from the ground up. His costumes through the glam era were very big, and a lot of his most iconic costumes were made during that time. That's when he was wearing the oversized glasses, ostrich feather shawls or boleros with feathers coming off of them. And then through I think about '76. In '76, I see him starting to wear there's a concert in Edinburgh that's one of my favorite shows that I've seen on video of his. and he's wearing like a plaid suit with glasses that aren't actually that oversized, but they're white, so they stand out. And after that, into the late 70s, he kind of toned down a little bit. He started wearing these like baggy, they kind of look like they were very large and big, and he was wearing like caps on his head. That was scaled down, and he did that into the early 80s. And then about 84, it looked like he hired Bob Mackie again to do that, whatever tour he did in 84, which was probably too low for Zero. And he again went with the really over-the-top costumes. Like there's a couple with him dressed as an angel, the Statue of Liberty. There's a flame devil that I particularly love, and you can see that one on his 1986 Live in Australia tour. Everyone seems to love the over-the-top costumes, and I personally love them as well. They're just fun to wear, and when you go on stage in one of these costumes, folks go crazy, and it's just awesome. I'm very specific about the costumes I wear on stage. Since I am a tribute artist, I go out of my way to really choose a particular costume, and I do my best to make every part of it that I can. I just feel that if I'm going to get out on stage in, say, a Donald Duck costume, I want it to be the best darn Donald Duck costume that I can make. I look at how Elton's was designed, and I do my best. And since I'm not a great tailor, I figure that most of the costumes that I make aren't actually going to be up to par of these professional designers that are making these. So, yeah, I actually try really hard to just wear the specific costume that he wore at a specific time. Like in the summer specifically, a lot of the costumes I have to choose because of, say, if I'm doing a lot of festivals. The one behind me has proved problematic a couple of times. Let's say if it's really windy and the samba collar's like basically like a big kite and it pulls on me. So during the summer I tend to wear like the Dodgers or costumes that have a smaller footprint that are a little easier to wear and that are not as hot, because it can be really hot outside for these festivals in the summer. It's a passion of mine, and I'm just really fortunate to be able to do that on a daily basis, and I'm very grateful for it and appreciative. So for the last two and a half years, I've been doing a lot of solo work or with backup singers. I played with bands for a long time, and I did not want to go into this endeavor and with that same cookie-cutter approach. I wanted to really connect with the music and feel the music and learn as much of it as I could. And now we're getting to the point that people are wanting to, have me play at bigger venues with a band. So I have started rehearsing with some musicians that have been with me, some of them for a long time, so that we can scale the show a little bit. So in the future, you might just see Crocodile, Rockstar, and band. However we're going to market that, I don't know yet, but that's probably where it's going. I always will be doing the solo piano and vocals show. I just really love that, and it gives me a lot of freedom. But yeah, so the next steps will be scaling it with various musicians. And the company itself has been awesome. So when I first started, the first year, I didn't really plan all that well when I resigned from my job as a controller. I resigned when my company was bought out. And I think that first year, I may have had like 15 shows. Like, it was not a lot. It was a tough year. And then my second year, I probably had like 63 shows or something like that. And I have a business plan, and it's just been growing. And, when I perform, I'm just very fortunate that I seem to get at least 1 to 3 new folks that see me and they enjoy the show and they come up and they hire me later. So I'm seeing the data's trending in a really great direction, and I just want to keep that going. I assume Elton's going to be still playing, even though he's retired from touring. I suspect we're going to see some residencies or so, independent shows that just kind of pop up. Go see Elton. Go see live music. I mean, it's awesome. Those of us who play it love doing it, and it's important that audiences and listeners keep coming back. Yeah, you know, come out, see our shows.
Island of the blue spots. That's the hardest part of memories remain.
And you've been awesome. I think I said this earlier, but you're the only person I've met who knows probably as much about Elton as I do, and it's awesome.
Learned a lot, did a lot of research, a lot of reading. So
Well, it's
Yeah.
been a real pleasure.
it has been a pleasure